Thank you. I'm not really sure what it is I want to say.
Well, I just don't worry about that. I just got through rambling
Yeah.
for a minute.
So many things have gone through my mind since all of you have been talking. It's hard to keep up, but so I'll just pick a few things. One is one of the things we all like about Wilmington is its diversity. But another way of looking at that is fragmentation. And I think it would be just as easy to see Wilmington as one of the most fragmented places that you could possibly be from almost any way that you cut it. When I first got here 18 years ago, living downtown was what attracted me here, and immediately got involved with issues about the new potential development on the river. Within a few months of being here, I naively had a hearing with the city council then, and expressed to them the need of a plan, because there were all these things going on, and there was no integral plan to make sense out of things. And as a designer, the very notion of design is coordinating various events into a coherent, unified entity that has some value that's bigger than each of those events themselves. And I spent at least half the time that I've been here beating my head against the wall, offered to even build the model of the whole downtown, volunteered to build it. Gordon was going to help me with it, and we have actually built some. And when we talk of vision, I got to the point that I was really turned off by the word vision, because everybody that wanted to do anything, no matter how hideous, talked about their vision for doing it. But I would say that as an architect, I'm a very visual person, and so if you throw a booklet on my table and said, this is the vision for Wilmington, do you want to live here? I don't know. But if you throw a real vision, something people can see, all of us diverse, fragmented people will be able to say, wow, I can live here. Coincidentally, I didn't know I was going to be here tonight. The last few nights I pulled a book off the shelf on urban design because I've been doing some thinking about it. It's a book that I've had for years, never really gotten into, but suddenly it just started clicking. This book is really good. And I learned some really wonderful things, but every page was a vision of some great urban plan through history. And then there was a little bit of text that gave that plan some meaning. And you read that text and you can lose yourself for hours in those images. And I really believe that we started off talking about the economics. And the truth is, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we took a nosedive. Everybody took a nosedive. So our region is hurting no differently than everyone else in America. And if all of a sudden everything came back to normal, I think everybody would go out with their hammers and T-squares and computers, and we'd start drawing and building as fast as we can go. But when I first came here, the city was developing Vision 2020. Again, another book, and certainly I'm sure some good things can be traced back to that plan. But there is no vision of this county. Wrightsville Beach and Wilmington exist separately with sprawl all the way in between, is the way I see it. And I lived here 35 years ago when it was a woodland drive to go from Wrightsville Beach to downtown. And somehow we've lost that. And the very landscape that we live on, that we talk about, honestly, you have to almost have blinders on when you ride around, because you have to open your eyes at a special time and you'll see something absolutely beautiful. But if you open them at the wrong time, you will live in a place that's absolutely frightening. I'm excited to hear that there's a plan to develop a unified urban plan, or a plan for the county. I guess what I would just like to add here is that we're down and we have a pause here. It's not because we can't bring industry in or people don't want to work, or there are a lot of reasons. I mean, smart people up here, great ideas and a wide diversity of ideas. But I really am an advocate of creating a vision. There's a wonderful book, it's actually entertaining. I think it's called The Devil in the White City. I recommend everybody to read it. It's a fun book. The devil is a serial killer in Chicago in about 1896, and the White City is Chicago's World Fair at the same time. And these two things were concurrent events that were woven in a wonderful book. But Daniel Burnham was the architect that designed the White City, and he's the one that famously said to the people doing this, make no small plans. And they built, their intent was to build a World's Fair that was greater than the last World's Fair, which was in Paris, which featured the Eiffel Tower as its crowning glory. So he had quite a demand on him. Well, read that book, and there is vision. And those were drawings, and those are ideas that got things done. And right now, while we're waiting to bring in these great companies and things that we all want to do, we can protect our environment and we can plan for a vision that these places want to be. And
thank you. Let Shar have a hand up, and you may have something different than this, but I did want you to respond to. You've got a business that is basically net zero polluting, right? I mean,
yeah, I just had a quick comment to just a specific small short example to Tracy's comment about Dave Mays and planning and that sort of thing, and just speaking to sort of the overarching ordinance and code and incremental change. I mean, obviously we need a comprehensive plan and that sort of thing, but even as recent as last year, when the streets were being dug up downtown, we approached Dave and some other folks that were in the power circle in terms of making the decisions, and said, hey, instead of just a direct feed to the river like has been done for a real long time in the urban water management system, how about if we do a simple sediment to the aquifer type of arrangement, which is very low tech, very inexpensive, takes a little bit of thought. And the response we got was, that's not in the ordinance, that's not in the ordinance, that's not the code. And so those types of decisions can be made, or I think need to be streamlined. Those kinds of decisions need to be streamlined. It doesn't need to take 5 or 10 years to figure out that we don't need runoff from the streets going into the river, directly into the river, without first being filtered through the aquifer, right? And so that's a specific example today, not in 1997 or any other time, that where the wrong decision was made, and it was based on not having the policy in place that's required.
And I'll just add to that again, to give credit to the county and the city. Hanover County worked, and Brunswick County worked to adopt a low-impact development ordinance 2 years ago, which is non-mandatory, but the idea, it was a collective effort of all different sectors to say we can do exactly what you're talking about, protecting the environment at the same time as we're doing development. And the upshot of that was that the effort was then made to talk to those state regulators who are holding up the works, and there's a lot of them, to basically say, you'll give permission for a stormwater pond because you absolutely can. I mean, that makes sense, and that's what we do. That's two-dimensional design. But here's an idea that not only will protect the aquifer and our surface waters, but will end up costing less. But we don't have a box for it right now. And so those conversations have been going on for the last year and a half. We have a couple of projects that have slowly worked their way through the system to make that a better concept. We just got grant money recently to do a total redesign of a existing Harris Teeter development plan that Swain Associates is working on, and to show that using a low-impact development design, we can save money and do what's called conservation design. Is it going to be easily permitted? Probably not.
Right. What's first cost versus last cost? Because again, getting back to living buildings, zero net energy, zero net water, and we just did an assessment at Duke where their new campus, they'll save $348 million over the next 100 years by not having to replace those buildings and not having those energy costs.
That's where we get our money.
$348 million and zero impact to society.
Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to bracket everything that's happened until now, and this is the plenary session. And then I want to invite everybody to maybe have a beer, sit back down if you want. We will start the hardcore session in about 10 minutes from now. I want to be respectful of everyone's dinner times and kids' homeworks and things like that. There wasn't going to be a punchline anyway, or maybe if there's a punchline, it's maybe sort of what Tracy and many others said, which is, it is nice to talk, and we haven't seen these people together. It's great to get this sort of diversity of views and dialogue. Please feel free to continue. I'm going to stay and have myself a beer, and we can continue this. You guys want to sit back down, you can, but please don't feel like you need to, and you all don't feel like you need to. I think it was great, but let's go to that next hardcore phase in a couple minutes. Oh, and one more thing, I'm sorry. Michael's comments reminded me that I was going to plug John Norquist's book. He has written a lot of what he talked about now, actually some time ago, but The Wealth of Cities is about urban planning and some of the impediments to urban planning. And actually, Buddy has there's sort of a brochure here on New Urbanism, also from the Congress of New Urbanism. So feel free to take a look at those. We'll leave them here, and you can hang out. We can talk about those books, talk about other things. Thanks very much for coming, you guys. I'll see you back there for some chips and something like that.
Great session.